What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be mocking some mocks. Today, I'm going to be reacting to a mock draft that was sent in from one of you guys. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here, and I'm excited for this series because I think this is going to be super fun. So yesterday I thought of the idea when we were reacting to a Fan Nation 3-round mock draft that you guys could send me in some mock drafts on social media, and I could react to one every single day up until the draft. That's the goal, every single day. And yesterday, well, really yesterday through today, you guys have sent me tons of mock drafts, so I appreciate it. And today I picked one random one. This one comes from my man, Andre. So we're going to react to it in today's video, and I think this one is super entertaining. There's a couple of interesting moves here. There's some trades, so I think you guys are really going to like this. But don't stop, man. Keep sending in some mock drafts, and maybe, just maybe, you might be in the next video. So today, we're reacting to a mock draft. I think you're going to like it, but let's waste no time with this intro. Let's just dive right into it, okay? So starting off with the Lions' first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, at number 7, the Detroit Lions select nobody. Okay, yeah, Andre. I'm sorry, I messed up your name a little bit there. I butchered it. Andre decided to trade back with the Denver Broncos 2 spots to number 9. Okay, so he traded back, and I'm all in for trading back. You guys know that I'm definitely fine with moving back in this year's draft. So he moves back only 2 spots, but gets a really solid return. Picks up the 71st pick in this year's draft and the 174th pick. Now, he used the PFN mock draft simulator. If you guys want to go check that out, there's a couple out there, but the Pro Football Network one seems to be pretty solid. It allows you to trade, and it's free, so that's great. So he moves back 2 spots, gets some nice return, and he still gets a really talented player at number 9. Who does he select? He selects Jalen Waddle, the same guy that we talked about yesterday. So I won't waste a lot of time talking about Jalen Waddle because first off, most of you guys know who this is, and people already kind of have, you know, their thoughts on what he will be in the NFL. And we talked about him yesterday, but I'll touch on it a little bit. So Jalen Waddle is the receiver out of Alabama who we really didn't see in 2020 due to a broken ankle, which stinks. Okay, we saw him try to come back against Ohio State, excuse me, and he didn't look super healthy in that game, so you're a little concerned with that. But before the injury, we know how explosive, how shifty, how twitchy, just how much of a deep threat Jalen Waddle could be. Also, how electric he was as a return man. I mean, he was one of those fun players to watch. Without even watching highlights, it looked like a highlight reel at times for Jalen Waddle. There's tons of weapons in that Alabama offense, which will take away some volume from what he's able to do. But some people believe he's still the best receiver at Alabama, which is kind of crazy considering his other teammates just won the Heisman in Devontae Smith. I think he gets a lot of people excited because he reminds them of Tyreek Hill. I get it. I understand it. I don't know if he'll be Tyreek Hill, but the Lions really haven't had a guy like Jalen Waddle. I mean, really the closest thing in my opinion is a Golden Tate, but I don't think they're the same type of player. For the Lions, what are my concerns with him? Honestly, there's not that many major concerns. Of course, the injury is the biggest one. Can he come back to the same level of a player? Because he relies a lot on that speed, that quickness, that twitchiness. So if he has a lingering injury, that's going to be a very big issue. So that definitely concerns me. Also, another issue is probably his size, maybe a little bit. But I will say this, over 180 pounds, yes, he's on the shorter side. There are some bigger receivers that are like 6'3", 6'4", that only weigh 180 pounds, and they play on the outside. So he may be able to line up on the outside at times, depending on what the situation is. He may be more of a slot. Okay, so that could be a concern. But overall, he's going to give you, I think, ridiculous production. It's really just, can he be healthy? And are you willing to take a receiver in the top 10? All right, most of the time, I would say no. But what's going to happen with Golladay? What's going to happen with Marvin? So you guys make the call on this one, but I will say because he was able to trade back and acquire both the 71st pick and 174th pick in the draft, to me, man, that makes the grade even better. So grade it down in the comments below. I know some people are hit and miss with taking a receiver, so let me know. Let's move on, though, to this second pick for the Detroit Lions. Now, he decided to trade up to make this second pick. At first, I was a little confused what happened here. So he traded up back into the first round to pick number 26. So at pick number 26, who does he take? He fills out one of our biggest needs. This is linebacker Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. Oh man, okay, he knows how to make me excited for a mock draft. Okay, Zaven Collins is one of my favorite players in the mock draft. He actually said that he restarted his mock draft that way he could get Zaven Collins because he didn't fall the first time. I love me some Zaven Collins. I don't even know if he's going to fall at 26. I could see him going in the teens, but if you could get him here, oh my goodness, did you land a talented playmaker, okay? There's a lot for me to like about Zaven. There's also some concerns, but when I look at the linebacker group, you could make the case he's arguably the most complete linebacker in this class, just without some of those physical and athletic traits that excite you, like a Jeremiah Owusu has, or a Micah Parsons has. The first thing you notice is the size. 6'4", 260 pounds. He plays the backside linebacker position. Looking at this draft class, there's not many linebackers that are 6'4", 260, that are around even that size. A lot of linebackers in this class are 230, 220, 235 pounds, which automatically just sticks him out from the rest, makes him unique from a lot of other players. Also, side note, okay, he was actually a former high school. He was a quarterback in high school, and he really bulked up to play the linebacker position. So I know that's something with Surratt that people like to mention. It's also something with Zaven that I thought I'd point out. My favorite part of his game, to me personally, is his ability in zone coverage. Now, you don't see him in man coverage a lot, which kind of stinks, but I know in zone coverage, he's extremely talented. He has a great feel for depth in zone coverage, from getting himself in the right situation, being very aware, and he's also a playmaker in coverage. One thing about Micah Parsons is I didn't think he was a terrible guy in coverage. Like, he had the athletic ability to get himself in the right position. The issue was he just wasn't a playmaker. Dropped interceptions, not making a play on the ball. That's not the issue with Zaven Collins. Zaven Collins is a legitimate playmaker in the passing game, and he grades out since 2014 as the best pass coverage linebacker. He's incredible in passing games. I think it's like 4 interceptions. He's got the production, he's got the playmaking in pass coverage, but he also gets himself in the right position. Now, man-to-man coverage may not be as much of his strong suit because of his athletic qualities. You know, he's not the fastest linebacker out there, but definitely in zone, when it comes to just having a really good feel and getting yourself in the right position, this guy is the best in the country. All right, I'm just going to go out and say he's the best in the country. Another thing I love about his game is, even though he doesn't have, the most exciting, speed or 40-yard time, which he's probably would put up. However, he's very explosive. He plays linebacker as if the running back at times. Okay, he'll fill through a running back lane like a running back would, and he's just so explosive through those gaps. He can blow up a play in the backfield, tackles for loss galore. It's so fun to watch. He'll blow up those plays. He does have a little bit of short area burst. Definitely doesn't have that top end speed though. That is for sure. His play style, in terms of, you want to see him be more physical, more aggressive. Look, at 260 pounds, 6'4", you want to see this guy kind of run through people at times. You don't see that enough, in my opinion, and I don't like to see that. I would like to see him run through a running back more often. I like to see him run over a blocker. Sometimes he kind of tries to finesse his way and he gets stuck on a blocker. You just want to see him be more physical, more aggressive. Maybe that's because his background is a safety and a quarterback, that he just maybe doesn't have that mindset yet. Maybe with the right coaching that can change. Dan Campbell talking about kneecaps. That might make him be like, all right, let's go. Team is going to be very important for Zaven Collins, but I think because of all the skills that he has, he could adjust really well to the NFL. Seemingly best in attacking defense, where he's going downhill, getting after players in the backfield, because that's what he's so good at. And then you can drop him into coverage, fake drop into coverage, drop into zone. You don't want him in man coverage. I think 4-3 is where he's going to be at his best. We went that he'd be an outside linebacker for the Lions, but as long as he's attacking, getting after it, he's able to drop in his zone, I think he's going to be really good, because you'd like him, as a backside linebacker, contain well and kind of set the backside edge. Are we going to allow him to drop in his zone, or are we going to try to ask our linebackers, outside linebackers in particular, to cover in man? If that's the case, Collins may not be who you want to go after, because he just hasn't shown a lot of that on tape. Plus, he doesn't really have maybe the speed that you would hope for a guy that's playing a lot more man. If you're allowing him to drop into the zone consistently, then you could take him. Also, are you going to allow him to rush, get after the quarterback where he's at his best? Because look, running backs can't pick him up. All right, tight ends can struggle with him with this size. So are you going to let him try to blitz, get after the quarterback? Is that what you're going to allow him to do? And I think tackling, he could tackle well enough. So it's really just, to me, it's about more the passing scheme. Are you going to ask him to play more man, or are you going to ask him to play zone? If he has to play zone, really can't go with a better option at linebacker. If he has to play man, there's different options out there for sure, because he probably won't be his best in that spot. Still would be good, but not at the best. He's got the size matchup with tight end. He's just maybe not fast enough if this is a short route, but if he's, on an island, he could be in trouble. Tackler, he's solid, just not as a big hitter. You wish he was a bigger hitter. He's about, around the average mark in terms of missed tackles, but you just wish he was a bigger hitter. I mean, that's really what it is. The reason that he's about the average mark in missed tackles in terms of the nation is because he's not super quick. It's because he can get kind of, sauced on, I guess I would say, and you get a couple of jukes because a really quick offensive player. He can get kind of sauced in that situation. I mean, he's a more secure tackler than a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is, just in terms of missed tackles and things like that. But he just doesn't have that power and just the boom to go get him, but you wish he did. And I think a mindset change, maybe working with Campbell and those guys for a little bit, this guy could be just so dominant. So it's just more like, can you just get a hold of him? As long as he can get a hold of the running back or whoever has the ball carrier, there's a pretty good chance he's bringing him down, okay, just because he's honestly just that big. But it's, can he get a hold of him, okay? That's the only reason to miss tackles. And again, he's not like missing tons of tackles. It's just about average because of that reason. Almost like Jelani in that way. I still think he has a little more short area quickness than Jelani does, but maybe like Jelani in that way. But I don't think him him and Jelani are the same type of player. I definitely don't think that, because I think he's way better in coverage than Jelani was coming out of the draft. That's for sure. And, I think he's way more dominant as a pass rusher than Jelani was coming out of the draft. But usually he's so quick to get himself in the right spot because he has such a good feel for where he needs to be. He can get himself in a really good position, but he can get kind of beat. But I think his speed is very underrated. I mean, I know people look at his 40 and say, oh, he's going to be super slow and this and that, but I really don't see it. I think because his football IQ and his intelligence and awareness to get in the right spot, he plays so much faster than maybe what his 40 time will be. But keep in mind, like I said, he had like 50 pounds going into college. So yeah, that will slow you down. He looks quicker to me. Not the top end speed, not the rundown speed, but I do see a little bit more quickness than people give him credit for. Also, his competition wasn't the best, and he really just had a breakout season last year. There are concerns, but he's one of the most complete, if not the most complete linebacker in this class. Former safety and a former quarterback helps him read a quarterback's eyes, and that's why he's so good in zone, because he doesn't have to rely on here's my speed, and here he has that awareness as a safety, but also a quarterback to kind of be able to read the eyes and get himself in a really good position. I think that's why he has such a good feel for that spot as time goes on. One thing that you must understand is you can't teach speed, all right? You just can't teach it. You might be able to improve a little bit, but you just can't teach it in general. So if you just want straight up speed, not the fastest guy. But he did say he likes big guys. Aaron Glenn, that is. On to the next pick in this draft. So that takes us way back, all the way to number 71, because, of course, he had to trade up to get that pick. So at number 71, Dre Andre selects an offensive lineman out of Michigan. This is Jalen Mayfield. Definitely haven't talked about that many offensive linemen so far on this channel. So Jalen Mayfield coming at 6'5", 320 pounds. He played right tackle for Michigan. Okay, there was a couple of things that just initially popped out to me as soon as I started watching this guy. First off, he's extremely powerful. All right, the power that this guy can pack, the punch that he can pack right off the snap is incredible. Okay, this guy is extremely powerful. And what I love is he'll run through the play and pancake you through the play. All right, he'll finish it off. He ain't going to stop really. This guy will run you back 10 yards. He'll run you into the ground. And it's like, oh, dang. Especially run blocking. He seems very, very physical in run blocking, and he would serve a very nice impact there immediately. He could, depending on the offense that he's in. That moves us to pass protection, where I don't think he's as, polished. I think he has some issues with overextending, overexerting himself. There's times where he'll kind of lunge forward, he'll get himself in a bad position. I see it happen a lot of times versus speed rushers. They can get the inside on him. He'll just kind of overextend initially, and it gets him way off balance. Sometimes you'll even see him stumble and fall. So that concerns you a little bit in pass protection. When he is upright, when he's able to keep his balance, he's pretty solid. He actually held his own against Chase Young, even though Michigan kind of schemed away from him. He did hold his own in that game, and that was kind of the breakout party for Jalen Mayfield early in his career. And since then, he's just been a very powerful, strong offensive lineman that's good in pass coverage, and looks like he could be an NFL player. Now, why do I like this pick? At first, I wasn't completely sold, because I was thinking to myself last night, I may want an interior offensive lineman more than even a tackle in this year's draft, because I think right now what we have at the guard spots, we have some vets like Joe Dahl, and we've had O'Day, and we've had Kenny Wiggins. These guys run through there. It's cool, but you want a guy with upside. You want a guy with upside at the interior offensive line position, and Stenberg could be that guy. I don't know what he looks like in practice, but if you're not sure, maybe you want to go with another interior offensive lineman that's younger in the draft rather than tackle, knowing that you still have Big V, who I feel like who's pretty young, and I think he could be there for a long time. Taylor Decker can still play for a long time, and you still have Terrell Crosby. I have no issues going with a tackle, but I think I may prioritize interior offensive line before that, depending on what Logan Stenberg looks like. And what Jalen Mayfield, what impresses me so much about him is I definitely think that he could bump into a guard position in the NFL. I mean, I could see this guy play the guard, and I think he'd be very successful as a guard in the NFL just because of his play style and his nature. I mean, you've seen, kind of flashes when he has to protect against inside guys. And look, when he's on the outside, an issue can be at times that, some of those quicker guys, those speed guys can get the inside leverage. He can kind of overdo it, trying to keep up with them, and he can get in a really bad spot, and he can get blown by. But I think when you put him on the inside, you just use his power, all right, that physical strength that he has, and you continue to work on his pass protection off to the side. I think he could plug in as a guard and start with day one in the NFL. Even though he's a right tackle, I think he could start guard day one in the NFL for certain teams. And for the Lions, depending on what Stenberg looks like, if you went this pick, you could start him with Jonah Jackson at guard. And if you needed a tackle for whatever reason because of injuries, he's had experience, of course, doing that. That's where he's had all of experience, and you could play him there. So I think it gives you a little bit of best of both worlds. I really started to like the pick more than I did initially. Interesting. Offensive lineman, that early. What do you guys think? Okay. Literally, I can't say his name, so I'm going to try my best. Okay. But I can't. I'm bad with it. All right. I'm going to try though. Osa Odighizuwa.
What?
That was like the worst. Wait, hold up right there. Odighizuwa. All right. I don't know how to say his first name, so I'm just going to leave right there. Osa? We're going to call him Osa. Osa. I don't know. All right. He's a defensive lineman out of UCLA. I've watched him. I just have no idea how to say the dude's name. All right. 6'2", 279 pounds. Didn't have any clue who this guy was before I started researching about him today. So a little bit smaller defensive lineman. He's number 92 if you're looking for him on film. I haven't been able to find tons of film on him, but he is a little bit smaller for defensive tackle. So in the NFL, not for defensive tackle, I would say for nose tackle. So in the NFL, I definitely don't think he played nose tackle. I think if he was in a 4-3 defense, he can play DT. I think if you put him in a 3-4 defense, he's definitely a defensive end, just based on his size. Now, what excites you about what should we call him? Osa? I think you say Osa. What excites you about Osa is just really his athletic ability because of his size. About 280 pounds, which is kind of small for his position, but he still serves a lot of power, and he's able to really collapse the pocket many times from the inside just because of that power. You'll see him kind of bull rush offensive linemen who'll get them backing up. He'll have guys, pushed down by their shoulder and they're struggling to keep up. That's what he can bring at the interior defensive line position. So you love to see that about him. But because he's a little bit smaller in size, he brings tons of athletic ability. And he can use that athletic ability and that quickness to work laterally as well, because you can get him on stunts. I see him work from inside to the outside on stunts against tackles. You can line him up on the outside or inside of a defensive line. At least that's what they did in college. In the NFL, I think, if you're in a 4-3, you could mix him around a little bit. 3-4, I don't think you're putting him at nose tackle very often. But because of his athletic ability, he's been able to bounce around in the offensive line. He's got some speed. He can run down. I wouldn't say he can run down a quarterback, but he's definitely not a slower guy. What I like about his athletic ability is you'll see certain occasions where he'll drop in, over the middle, kind of almost have a spy, on a quarterback. He can affect crossing routes, things like that. And look, when I talk about this guy being athletic, all right, so here's what I read. He had clocked over a 20 miles per hour. He benches over 420 pounds. He squats over 700 pounds. He has a 32-inch vertical, and he has 15% body fat. Okay, that to me right there, that's athletic. Oh, I don't know why this pillow's here. Osa's kind of just a strange tweener to me because, he's bigger than Romeo Okwara is. And Romeo Okwara played like defensive end last year. So I know he has the size to do it, but I don't think he's the type of speed rusher that Romeo is. I don't think he's just that polished as a rusher. I don't think he's that quick. I have the type of pass rush ability and consistency that a Romeo or someone like that does. That's something that I think it needs a lot of work. I see a lot of different moves. I see him try to bring out a lot of different moves in his game, which is cool. He just needs to get them more polished. He's slow. A lot of his moves are slow and are not always effective. Sometimes he misses strikes, things like that. But defensive tackle for a 3-4, definitely too small for nose tackle. And this is like a passing down maybe, but I think he's still too small. However, on a 4-3, you could put him at defensive tackle, I think, and he could be one of those guys inside. That may be his best bet. Also, a 4-3, you might be able to put him on defensive end, but I think his best bet's inside. He's just a weird tweener. Bigger offensive lineman, bigger tackles. He doesn't have the length, and that can be an issue at times. He can get stuck against offensive linemen, especially offensive tackles that are really big in size. So I'm not even trying to just compare him to Romeo. It's just that really any pass rusher on the outside, I don't think he has the type of athletic bend to play that pass rushing role right now. So I think that's something that if you want to get him there, it's going to take time. Cornell may be better fit for that right now. So he could be better fit if Nix is gone, if Danny Shelton is gone, to get in their side inside there with John Pennicini, but also be able to get you some pressure that Pennicini is not really known for. Pennicini is more the run stuffer, and he could get you some pressure. So I could see that being a fit, especially if you jump to a 4-3. Pass rush moves can be inconsistent at times, really his strikes. He tries to mix in a lot of things in his game, can be kind of slow, sometimes. And really, statistically, he doesn't blow you away in any category. The athletic ability and really the strength that he punches at his size is impressive. So, a guy I didn't know a lot about, but, I'm glad I learned about him. So, UCLA there, Osa. That's the third pick that he has. Yeah, no, fourth pick, excuse me. All right, so the next pick he has comes in at number 88, and this is a running back. This one, to me personally, I don't love the pick. He is a talented player. This is Demetric Felton, the running back for UCLA. Okay, now why do I not like this pick? Let's just get right to it. First off, he's a talented player. I don't like the pick for our backfield personally, for the Lions personally, okay? Doesn't give me something different from what Swift gives me. He almost reminds me of I don't even know if I'd say Jason Hill. He reminds me of Theo Riddick maybe a little bit. All right, he seems to be a pass-catching running back, okay? There's a lot of times where they'll line him up at slot. That's kind of what he is for the NFL. Reminds me too much of DeAndre Swift. Now, I think DeAndre Swift is a better between-the-tackles runner. To me, is not a very good between-the-tackles runner because he doesn't run through a lot of tackles. He's not that strong. He had to really get stronger to be a three-down back for UCLA, but he's not going to run through many arm tackles. He's not going to break many tackles. He has good vision. I love his quick cuts. He's got a quick cut in the inside when he's asked to go, between the tackles. And if you you block well, if you block really well, that is, he can find some seams and he can make some really nice plays out of it. But really, the attack for Felton is get him to the outside, get him into the open field, let him use his elusiveness, let him use him that in the outside because he's tough to bring down. It's really inside, you don't see him as much of a threat. He's a good pass catcher. He's a legitimate pass catching threat. I think he had over 50 receptions in 2019. So I love that. It just doesn't, to me, fit as well for the Lions. He weighs 200 pounds, 5'10", just doesn't as fit as well for the Lions as some other running backs. I'd rather go with a Ramondre Stevenson, something like that here. Khalil, just someone that's more impactful between the tackles. If the Lions went out this offseason and signed a Mark Ingram, someone like that between tackles, powerful type of big runner, then it makes more sense. Like a Malcolm Brown, then this pick makes more sense for me because then you get, okay, at least you got that power guy. But Adrian Peterson, that, when he's 38, 39, that to a point is almost too old because now it's thinking, okay, yeah, that's the kind of running back he is, but he won't give us that for many years. A Malcolm Brown may be a great fit. Maybe a Mark Ingram could be a good fit with this kind of draft pick. But if that's not what you do in the offseason free agency, is sign a running back like that, this pick doesn't fit that well. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt to say he did that. So that pick, I don't love it, but I do like him as a player. That moves us on to our next pick, which is a cornerback out of Ohio State. This is Shaun Wade. Shaun Wade, man, his value has dropped tremendously heading into 2020. I remember heading into this year, it was like, wow, this guy could be a first-round pick. And now it's like, okay, wow, is this guy going to be a day 2 pick? He has fell off really, really hard. And it's for the right reasons, to be honest, because he did not play well in 2020. 2020 was awful. Now, I understand it was a weird season for everybody, but it was bad. It was really bad. And he really was like, okay, 2020 is the year you can step up. You're going to play outside corner. Can you fill in for Okudah? Can you fill in for Damon Arnett? And the answer was just no, at least not now. I mean, in press, it was abysmal. I mean, it was just terrible in press coverage. To be fair to him, we always say, oh, this guy, he hasn't played the best competition, so that hurts him. But to be fair to Wade, he's played a lot of good competitions because he's in the Big Ten. They didn't play a ton of games this last year, though. SEC, I think you make cases better, definitely could. But, there is some good competition. The issue is when he's had his best opportunities to really shine, he hasn't done it. I mean, Clemson, he didn't shine whatsoever. He was really bad against Clemson. Penn State, bad game, right? I mean, there wasn't any kind of game where it was like, okay, he's got a good matchup here against Devontae Smith. He's going to look good. And he just didn't. He didn't look good. So he didn't show us in any of the major opportunities that he could be an outside cornerback immediately. But the Lions don't really need that immediately. He was burnt consistently off the line. His speed is a big question mark, so he usually has to give a lot of space. He also could be completely out-physicaled on the outside. He just doesn't seem to really be able to match up well with many outside receivers. That can be a very big issue. I can see him get run over in the open field. There are things to like at slot. He was very productive, in the past, not this past season, the year before this season. So maybe you boom and push him back into slot, but the speed is a little bit concerned with those regards. He's also a good tackler. Some about Ohio State cornerbacks, they tackle well. Not the biggest hitter. I think he's a solid hitter. You get a couple hits here and there where, he'll blitz a quarterback and he'll get a good hit on him. But for the most part, he's just good at wrapping up, make sure he holds on to the guy. He doesn't just whiff at him. But for the most part, man, his coverage was just so bad last season. He's forced to give a lot of space. He can get burned on double moves. I mean, it just does not look good. It just looks bad. It just looks really bad in coverage this past year. And to me, I think that's why he's falling so far, and it makes sense that he's going to fall far in this year's draft. However, a lot of people are saying that he could be a safety in the league, and maybe the Lions, if they made this pick, could work on him, try to develop him as the future slot because that's where he seems to be at his best. Future replacement for Coleman, which is nice. But also he could work as a safety. Maybe he could be really good at it. I just don't see him as an outside cornerback. And last season was just really not good. Okay, things to like. He can tackle well, that's for sure, and he's good in the slot, but just really rough 2020. And that could be an opportunity to get a player that like Shaun Wade, you can probably develop him and that has some of those has some of that potential that you could be excited about. So that moves me all the way to 161, where we get a safety here out of Texas. This is Caden Stearns. So of course, if you draft Shaun Wade, try to move to safety, may not be the best to draft Caden Stearns after that. But Stearns is basically a deep safety at Texas, so kind of like the Duran Harmon role. The question will be, how well would he fit in this scheme? I think he can play in the box because we've seen it. But the question will be, okay, if you're trying to use him as a deep safety, will he fit? If we go to a split safety look more, will that make sense for the Lions to draft a guy like Stearns? I think Stearns has more versatility than people give him credit for. I mean, he's played both slot in the box and he's played deep safety, but he has played at many different spots, so I love the versatility there. And for a late round guy, you're kind of looking at, okay, what can I add on? What kind of foundation foundation is here that I can build on top of. One of the best things to his game is to his tackling. I love his tackling, going up, making tackles, his pursuit on runners. I mean, he can start 20 yards away from the play, and he'll just fly down and make a big play on the run and in the passing game. He's a good tackler. He's a reliable tackler in the open field. Love that about his game. He's also made some nice plays physically when the ball is up in the air, up for grabs. He has size to do that. The concerns with me with his game is, first off, when he's played slot, he really struggled. He has done it, but he's not very quick. He's really slow to change the direction, so you get breaking routes. Whenever you get that move, whatever it is, out route, in route, whatever that cut is, he's very slow to react to it. So I think if you try to line him up in man, he could have issues, because I don't think, that's his best right now. He'll have to work on that foot speed probably and just getting quicker with those reactions. But he also does a great job really coming down on things, running downhill tackling, downhill coming down to make a play on the football, jumping down to knock away a ball. That he has all those. He has that to his game as a deep safety, which is exciting. The question is, how well would he fit in this defense? And if you played him up closer to the line more often. He doesn't shed a lot of blocks at 6'2", 207, which could be part of the size thing. I don't see him get off a lot of blocks. So once he gets picked up by a receiver, like usually when he's covering a slide, it's an issue. But he has played in the box. They trust him to play in the box because of his ability to tackle, which makes him exciting. So, again, he plays a lot of the deep safety position, but I think he could have more versatility as given credit for because of his ability to go up, make a tackle, and be physical. But that's probably the biggest concern with him. So, yeah, I mean, there's some things to like there. There's definitely things that work, but when you're this late in the draft, you're kind of, again, looking for something that you can build off of. We're going to end off with Amari Gaynor, a 6'3", 215-pound linebacker out of Florida State. That fluctuates. That's seen 227. Kind of around that. He's not the biggest guy. Kind of reminds you of the Jeremiah Owusu size. And again, that's why Zaven's so unique in this draft, because not many guys have that type of size. Position versatility. It kind of reminds me of like a way less known and less talented and less proven Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Guy's played at safety, linebacker, edge. He's bounced all around. I feel like he'd be an immediate special teams player. Kind of reminds me of Jalen Reese-Maben, just based on the physical tool set that he has and the skills there, athletic ability. And what I like is that I think, you could bump him to special teams right away and he could be effective. Look, the Lions could need that. And we're talking this late in the draft, having a guy that can serve an impact anywhere on the field is beneficial. And you also have the tools there where you're thinking, okay, can we develop into a linebacker for us? Probably not right away, but I think that was the thing they were trying to do with Maben. It didn't really happen, but maybe that happens with Amari Gaynor. Now, he's a little bit smaller, so you might want to see him bulk up depending on where they try to put him. Are they going to try and play him at edge? Where are they going to try? Are they just going to move him around all over the field? I don't know. If that's the case, they may not bulk him up. But because of his athletic ability, he gives you a guy that can get after the quarterback, can blitz, flies on blitzes, not a lot of pass rush moves, but can fly to the quarterback, but also drop into coverage. You'll see him line up man-to-man against tight ends, running backs, out of the backfield. He can drop deep. I think he's a great situational linebacker in the NFL if you do try to play him defensively, because I think he'd be great on passing downs. He's got speed to fly around in coverage. Obviously, he's going to need work there, but you can put him in man, and also he can get after the quarterback. So he gives you the threat of both. Early downs, not as much. I don't see him as much as an impact run defender, but I think his explosiveness is what you could use to just try to get the best out of him right away, because he is a little bit smaller in size until you figure out what you want to do. But I also think you can have impact immediately on special teams, which the Lions could use depending on what they do with some of their upcoming special teams players. So, Amari Gaynor, again, didn't know about this guy whatsoever until I started watching him today. And I think he could serve an impact on special teams. So overall, this draft, okay, I like the Waddle pick, especially because you traded back. I think that's solid. That's if you're gonna do it. To be able to trade back, still get picks, I think that's pretty awesome. And I know how talented Waddle is. Hopefully he's healthy. Zaven, I love it. Linebacker is one of our biggest needs. Absolutely love that pick. Even if trading up has to be the case, I love it. Now, 71, pretty fall off. I really like Jalen Mayfield too, man. I'm starting to really like it. Starting to come around that. If you want an offensive lineman, there you go. Osa, defensive lineman at UCLA. If we bump to a 4-3, could work. I don't know if you play right away. It depends. I think Cornell's probably be a backup defensive end, probably. And you still have Pennicini, so you could use depth there, depending on what happens with Sheldon, what happens with Nick Williams. You also have Felton. Didn't love the Felton pick. I'm just going to be honest there. But do like him as a player. Went with a different running back. I love the fact that he wanted to go running back. 100% on it. I just think there's other options, that could have fit better with what this team needs. I don't know what the board looked like, but I feel like that would have fit me better. But again, I do like the fact that he addressed running back. I think that's important. Shaun Wade was bad last year. If you have the intention to try to play him back at slot or even try to move him to safety, I like it. He was just bad as an outside corner. And personally, I don't know. I don't know how soon you can make this guy immediately impact. But again, you don't really need it depending on if you keep your top three corners. players. You don't need an immediate impact, which is nice. It's a good time to get one late. Shaun just a rough year, but at least he has the tackling down, and that's cool. And he's from Ohio State like Okuda, so there's the connection. That's pretty cool. Cade Stearns, really like Stearns. Didn't know who he was, liked him, and I like the Amari pick. The couple things that he didn't take a quarterback. Okay, that's fine. He took. He did go with the running back, not the one I love there. Only one receiver, which I think the Lions, I almost can guarantee, I almost have a really good feeling they'll go with 2 receivers. Now, if we keep Galladay or something like that, then maybe don't take more than 1 receiver. But the way I look at it with Cephas and Allison only under contract, even if you got Galladay back, because the money you're going to be giving Kenny Galladay, I think you're going to draft at least 2 receivers this year. I just have that feeling, especially that is if you trade back. Now, you only have 6 picks. It kind of make it a little more difficult. You may have to go get, undrafted free agents, things like that. I mean, that's still an option. We've talked about a couple of guys that could hit undrafted free agency. So, that's still in play. Plus, you did take Demetric Felton. And as much as I don't love him as a running back for our team, you could play him maybe at receiver. I mean, he's kind of a receiver anyways, Maybe you just make him the slot receiver. You could have potentially, if you're going to take Wade, I think you could take Cade Stearns out of there. Like the fact that he got cornerback depth, just not my favorite cornerback. So maybe you keep Wade, maybe you don't grab Stearns. Because the way I look at it with Walker and Will is that I'd rather have a vet safety. So I think, keep Wade, maybe don't get Stearns. Or maybe you keep Stearns and Wade and you just don't take Amari Gainer at the end. You just go with the receiver. Honestly, filled out a lot of needs, though. I like it. Osa is interesting. That means you're probably keeping Romeo if you do this. He might be able to play defensive end in the NFL. I mean, he has the size to do it. I just think right now he's more impactful in the inside. Maybe he can play on the defensive end if you continue to polish up his pass rush moves. So this is probably keeping Romeo and Kenny, I think. But overall, man, solid draft. Definitely a lot of new players, and I'm happy I got to learn about them. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Pat, for watching, and I'm out.